Okay.
I have stream chat, but there's nothing there.
No, there'll be a bunch of people saying something soon.
I'm sure.
Okay, so let's just start, and I'll tell you what. I'll just describe to you and the people my little process, and then maybe my hopes or dreams or whatever. They're not my dreams are pretty. My dreams are pretty small, Yermo. I'll tell you my dreams. Okay, so usually what I do.
Oh, well, there was this guy, that
Yeah.
was a California musician. Then he had this song, that my dreams got smaller and smaller until they were gone. And then he moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and started going to church. I guess, people can get desperate.
They get really desperate. Okay, Yermo. So this is what I do. All right. So I usually write out my analysis. Like actually, I'm showing it in the chat, but this is my little notebook here, and I try to write out my notes, handwritten thoughts, variations, the whole thing over here. Sometimes I do it better than others, and then I type it into ChessBase. And sometimes I check with the computer, but oftentimes I don't. I'll always check like the opening. I'll check if who's played it and that kind of thing. And I want to also admit, publicly that I talk a big game, Yermo, when I tell people to analyze their own games and stuff. But sometimes I get sidetracked, and I tell you what happens is I played a tournament after that Senior Open. And I got waxed by like some 2100s, and I got so depressed, Yermo. I got so depressed that I just, and then I got distracted by life, and I stopped doing it. So my dream is very simple: that if we do this once a week, it will force me to do the work of analyzing the games, and then I'll show you these notes, and then we can just talk about whatever it is I did.
Well, from what you just said, I like it. So basically, you enter the game pretty soon after you play it. So you can enter also the variations that you looked at during the game.
That's the hope, anyway. So, that's the hope.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
So the idea is to put everything that you saw during the game, because that further check or whatever will show how far, how close or how far you were to what needed to be done during the game.
Right.
I mean, it's sort of a way to check your intuition, because the decisions are often intuitive.
Sure.
Well, they have to be intuitive because of the complexity of the task, and then of course it can be checked and verified. But if you so you have to do it. All that stuff, whatever. Sometimes it's like total fantasy number, right? You can be looking at during the game.
Right.
That, Yeah. No, okay, anyway, I can see the moves here. Well, actually, I was present during this game, although I didn't pay close attention. And then I left rather early because I lost in 25 moves.
Right.
Oh, no, it was next round when I lost to you in 25 moves. So no, maybe this game, wait a minute, it was round 5. No,
Round 5,
I was
right.
playing next to you, but not,
Right.
not actually next to you, because I got dropped down to some lower board. I saw the game partially. It was kind of strange. Anyways,
Yeah.
The moves that we know.
Okay, so I played this slightly weird move, but I prepared it. Okay, I'll just tell a little bit of a backstory. I used to play Bishop G5 for a long time. I still like the move. This is kind of similar structure. So I figured I could play a different structure, slightly different move order, but the same structure.
No, obviously. No, so the difference, if I might say, compared with the classical Mar del Plata variation, that the Black Knight never got to E7.
Right?
So on the one hand, the Knight can come to C5, or at least make the C4, C5 break more difficult for White. But all the same, it's not the piece that ends up taking on G2. Because it's Knight E7, and then Black blocks the center, F4, then they go G5, Knight E7 to G6, right? And then eventually they come to H4. And if the player with the black pieces is Hikaru Nakamura, he's gonna take on G2 and checkmate the White king.
That's
Now,
right.
that knight, now, I don't know how the knight from b8 gonna get to h4. So you may lose the game in many different ways, but not the way Nakamura beats me.
That's true. No, and I would say if I have any claim to an advantage or anything, it's that I'm playing against this knight. Exactly, right? I'm trying to make it a shitty piece. Excuse me. I'm trying to make it a bad piece.
No, well, I suppose, but there is another thing that you haven't castled yet, unlike the Mar del Plata. So,
Right.
no, your intentions are, slightly disguised.
Okay, fair.
Maybe you're not going king 7. In the meantime, the most important thing for us, particularly King's Indian players on the black side, is not to allow white to play their next move, which is a terrible threat for black. Knight f3 to d2.
Right.
If this move is played, then black's in trouble.
Agreed, yeah. Okay, so here we go, and I had studied it, maybe not so well, but we're gonna see. So I would pop.
Yeah, you want to talk about the move knight h5? I'm sure people will have a word or two to say about knight h5 instead of knight g4.
Yeah, it's possible. Here I think white has a couple options. The most obvious, though, is being g3, saying that the knight is misplaced on h5.
Yeah, and then we follow the line through g3, and if they go f5, then something happens. And we need to figure it out. Correct? Pawn takes, and now...
Well, now we're going to ask two questions. Should I play knight to e5 or knight to g5? They both look good.
It's all about the knight on h5, which is loose. So that gives white some possibilities. I'm familiar with similar position where white already castled, but the black knight is on a6.
Yeah, so
Well,
this
I'm
looks...
not familiar with this particular one.
This
and
one
I'm
looks...
trying to discern the difference. I suppose this is all going to be great for white now.
It seems like it's going to be pretty good, yeah.
Because you never castle. You h-file, because he's going to have to play knight takes g3, right? He doesn't want to play down whatever. Is he? Or is he going to play some f4? Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, well now you haven't castled. Well, so let's go f5, g3, f5, pawn takes, follow the line knight e5, knight takes g3. And we go h takes g3 and we got the h file.
Yeah, I don't...
I suppose it should be good for white.
Should be good, yeah. Should be good.
But what you're gonna play in this position, it's another question, but it should be good for white probably anyhow. But if you castled, imagine if the black knight was on a6 and the white king was castled short.
True.
Would we have as much confidence?
No.
Possibly not. You really don't want to be on the king's side with the king.
Well, okay, that's actually going to get to my first mistake. There are several mistakes.
You never make any mistakes.
Yeah, there are several mistakes in this game, and let's go to the first one. So pop, h5. Now this move h5.
Yeah, but this is why I could call the Gligorich variation, right? When you play your bishop to e3, and then maybe you play d5 later on.
That's a little similar, but as you said, the difference with that variation is usually the knight will not be, might find his way to e7 in a position like this, whereas now the knight is on a6.
Okay, so if on move 7, okay, never mind. It's maybe we can return to this one day. So he plays h5. So he had what choices? He had also knight h6.
I think knight h6 is the more calm way to play the position, yeah.
Yeah, but if knight h6, would you play your pawn to g4? What would be your strategy? I'm just curious. Like, suppose instead of h5, he went knight h6.
Yeah.
Well, what's your?
I'm going to be trying to play against the knight, so I could either play two moves, either a3 or castles. Probably a3.
So you basically want to make sure that if knight c5, you get to go. b4.
Yeah, and then I think a general way of putting it is if I can get my pawn to b4 somehow, then I can say I'm not going to get mated because he's got the bad knight.
No, right, but the bad knight protects the pawn on c7,
True,
which opens up the possibility of queen e8. What if he now unpins with queen e8 and wants to go his f5 and go about his dirty business? Yeah, we can do that.
I think
Okay.
if you could play bishop d7 first, maybe instead of queen e8.
I don't know. Well, I mean, well, I don't know. Okay, you would probably play. Well, I don't know what you would play. But after queen e8 before, what if black ignores this whole thing and they start pushing on the other side? What would be the outcome of all this?
Well, so f5?
Say he goes f5 here.
Okay. Oh, let's play f3.
Okay, yeah, f3. Okay, I get it. So basically the idea is that if he somehow gets to his attacking formation, closing the center with f4, and then somehow playing g5, which
Right.
he will be able to,
Yeah,
you just pull your bishop back to f2.
right.
Okay, say he played f4. Let's play two more moves. He goes f5, f4. Suppose he's a simple-minded King's Indian player, right? That.
Yeah, sure.
So when the attack comes, you think you're gonna beat him to the punch. You're gonna
This
go
one
c5,
I feel
c4.
pretty good about. Yeah, I feel pretty good about this one. Because really you let me get this with one move instead of with two.
Yeah, okay, I get it. So you think simply that's gonna be who gets there faster, and you have reasons to believe it's gonna be white.
Yeah.
Because your bishop is on f2, you go c5, and you go knight c4, you hit the pawn, you on the b6 square, and so on and so forth.
Right.
And the black knight is on h6 is awkward. Okay, I get the picture. No questions. More in this line. Okay, I understand. Now, to your suggested improvement of playing bishop to d7 on move 12 in this line instead of queen e8. Now, what do we do?
I think then I need to go b3. I would call this probably theory, by the way. I would say this is
b3.
b3 and then queen e8.
Like it does the same thing with queen e8. So that's an improvement for. I think we all agree that bishop d7 improves now.
Right.
I kind of felt it, but I wanted to see it on the board.
Probably f3.
Okay, so now he rolls with whatever.
f5.
f3, he rolls with f5. You go rook b1, I get it. He rolls and you go b4. No, but if you go b4 now, maybe you don't think he can play g5 now.
He
if
could
you
think
think-
about it. Yeah, he could think about g5. Yeah, maybe.
Well,
and-
what
and-
if he plays g5? Can you're not gonna take, right?
No, I think that's a good point. So if that's the case, if I need to be worried about that, then I should just castle like a normal person.
After f4.
Yeah.
Okay, that's now g5 is kind of a pawn sacrifice of the questionable quality. Yeah, so the idea is that we want the black pieces. Now, next question. If he goes bishop to f6, do you trade or do you... I mean, this good bishop, bad bishop, I mean, I don't... Say bishop f6.
I think I can do both. I think I can do both.
That's interesting.
But I think in general, I want to play bishop f2.
Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting. So I'm thinking now, from Black's point of view, briefly, I know that we probably have way more ground to cover, but I also want to help the players here that play the King's Indian with Black. So you think of like going g5, but then the knight on h6 is slightly in the way. White perhaps can play h3, and then the knight has to retreat, clear now for the h7 pawn to come to h5, and then come back, and then, oh, don't know.
I think,
There is queen e7 followed by bishop h4. I don't know what
that's
is.
possible. That's possible. Yeah, black has.
You're
I
also
would.
trying,
Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I would say that's a.
Also trying to slow down your c5 a little bit if you can. Yeah, that's an interesting position. Okay. I think we got knight h6 covered. I think we established the.
It might be it might be technically the better move, but in any case, after h5, I feel like I definitely make a bad move here by castling.
Wait a second. After h5, you castle.
Yeah.
Now, well, again, you mentioned theory, but in this particular situation, wasn't there h3 followed by g4? Did anybody play it?
Actually, I have. So what I do is I look at the like whatever other people do at just at the very end. I have not. By the way, I haven't put anything in the computer yet. Like I haven't asked the engine, but I think h3 makes a lot of sense. And then okay. So this is just my own notes, and I was a little skeptical of g4, or I was uncertain about g4.
No, I had this situation about g4. I tell you, I had a game with Vasily Ivanchuk. I was black. That was very, very similar. The only thing is that my knight was not on a6. And we got into this kind of situation, but I never moved my h-pawn. You're saying that it's going to be counterplay based on bishop h6, right? So you continue knight to f7.
Yeah, but also knight g5 is a nice square for the knight, I think.
No, well, yeah. So... yeah, so when it comes to this position, well, I don't know, but here the h5 is open. But you think that that's, in this situation, black's going to be fine?
Well, but I just was looking at it, and to my mind, it's much simpler for white just to sit for a second.
No, well, because Ivanchuk played like this. Obviously, it wasn't simple.
Well, nothing's simple in this position, but I mean, it's more flexible for white to play f3 here. I don't want to castle yet. I can keep g4 in my pocket, and I can now work with a3 and b4.
Okay. And if he tries to do the same thing, so he probably has to try to do the same thing, but now his pawn is on h5. But he has no other plan but to move queen away and then play f5, right?
Okay, yeah.
What else can he do?
Oh, I don't know. He could think about that kind of thing. Knight f7, bishop h6.
No, well, they get that, but no, well, you'll, yeah, I suppose they could, but.
Okay, but Yermo, just like in general, but let me just see if this makes sense. So I'm in this position, and first I want to tell you the reason I made my bad decision. The reason I made my bad decision, I think it was a bad decision in case, to castle, was that I felt the knight was eventually going to have to move on its own back anyway, so that I didn't have to push it. That was a mistake. Two, because I've played the Petrosian a lot of times where you castle anyway, I wasn't thinking like just hang out without castling, which gives me so much more flexibility. And then when I do castle, it's not just, like even if the computer said it was okay, I feel like I'm creating unnecessary danger for me. I might get mated. I might get mated. If I just put my pawns on h3, f3, I'm probably not going to get mated. Right?
No, that's one person, Nicholas, there is saying, try to castle long.
Maybe.
But I mean, that's... well, the thing is, when we castle long, well, what's our plan? Well, we can make f6, f5 very difficult to accomplish. But against your plan, Jesse, with this bishop h6 and all that business, I'm not sure white has great attacking chances, considering that the three of their minor pieces, both knights and the bishop on e2, well, how are you going to deploy them when you attack on the king side?
Well, and the other thing too is I really need to play at some point I need to play to dominate the knight on a6, right? I need to
Well,
try
that's
to,
your plan, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're playing for that, then probably long castles doesn't have any room into this.
right.
Yeah. Okay.
But but again, I don't need to rush castling short. There's no need to rush that thing. I mean, just sit like this. The knight is funky on h6, and the pawn on h5, it's going to need some work to actually be useful with the g5, g4.
No, not only if he closes the center with f5, f4, goes knight f7, g5, and then the pawn on h5 is right where it needs to be.
Well, in which case, it's obvious that I shouldn't castle.
So he plays queen to e8 in this position, and all the same, similar to what we studied above, only the h pawns have moved.
Right.
E3, f5, rook b1, f4, b4, knight f7. f4, knight f7. Okay, we got this far. And here is the thing what I wanted to talk to you about. Why do you even castle? Why do you castle?
That's what I'm just trying to be telling you for 5 minutes here. I shouldn't be castling.
No, but you said you castled because he played h5. In regardless of that, of the h3, let the h pawns be back where they still are. Why do you castle?
I agree.
In the lines that we looked before at knight h6, on move 11 instead of h5, a side line. Why did white castle?
Let's see.
Well, that's what I don't get it. I mean, you did everything right. This preparation of before, all good, but why do you actually need to castle? How's your rook on f1? How is it going to be important in your queenside attack?
Fair. The only reason I did it here was I think in this position, you kind of need to give me a tempo. Oh, because you were threatening g5.
No, well, g5, you go back bishop f2 regardless.
Okay.
No, so he gained, but the tempo is a fake big tempo because his knight is on h6. Suppose he played g5, he still cannot go g4.
Fair.
He's going to have to, and then you'll play h3. Maybe I play bishop f2 here.
Yeah.
So
No,
he plays
I think
h5 and I play g5, I play h3. And he has to move the knight back, clear out for h5 pawn. In the meantime, you go your c5 and knight c4. Why do you castle?
I'm 100% with you. It was a mistake. It was my first
I
mistake.
think it should not even come into your concept of your play. I don't think you should castle at all. I'm thinking of the idea of the Gligarich variation, right? So when on move 7 they play bishop e3. I fall into this. I lost a very bad game to this guy. He's a grandmaster. He was a world junior champion. Valery Chekhov. Maybe you've heard the name. He's a coach at a big chess school in Moscow. And this guy totally caught me. He played bishop e3 instead of d5 or castle on move 7.
Yeah.
And like an idiot, I went knight c6. He went d5, knight e7, knight d2. On move, you can enter on move 7 instead of d5.
I know what you're saying. All right, so here.
Yeah. He played bishop e3. I go knight c6. Question mark. Nobody plays like this. He played knight d2. I went like knight e8 or something. Then I went f5 and f4. And he never castled. His bishop was on f2 and he went c5, knight c4, knight b5. And I lost the game like a child. Like a child I was. I was what, 20 years old? 21. I never got to checkmate him. I got nothing. His king wasn't even there.
Right. And so let me just I'll tell you how this goes. So I think it's like the old.
No, I played very many times against bishop e3. I never played knight c6 one more time. I learned my lesson. I lost a very bad game to this guy. Well, here is a different situation.
Well, right. So here, this is where I played many times, and I did castle. I think it's correct, right?
No, because he hasn't made any commitments yet. No, okay, yeah, of course.
Anyway, so that's why in my, let's call it my muscle memory or whatever you want to say, I had castling as a viable That's the origin story of my mistake.
No, but here here obviously is a different situation
I agree
because
with
he
you.
hasn't made any commitments. There is no knight on g4. No, when he plays knight g4 and h5, he's fully committed. Only play for him is for checkmate, I think. In that other position that you just showed, maybe black has some other plans. What do I know? Maybe they can put that knight on c5 and think that once you go b4, they will play knight to a4. You need to castle to, I don't know, connect your rooks. If you go back to the line you just show, he doesn't have to like really go crazy with that f5 and so on. He has some other ideas. Move 11, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would say he's gonna go knight c5.
Knight
queen
c5
e-
or queen e8, yeah.
or queen a8, whichever.
I think
And he'll play knight to h7 and, well,
Yeah.
we don't know what
go
he's
like
gonna-
this. And then I like this move. That's a good move.
e3, correct. Well, I'm not sure. Maybe this, or is it really bad for him just to go like knight c5 and then knight to a4?
Actually, that's a trick where I use, it's going to come up in this game, where the reason that knight c5 is not great here is because white plays queen c2.
Ah, you're planning to answer knight a4 with knight b5.
Exactly right.
Well, you're a very evil person.
Maybe I'll just show it briefly here, just so people can see. This kind of comes
Okay,
up.
yeah, and then there is another thing. After f5, you play your f3.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's gonna happen. f4, and it's time.
Right.
Yeah, perfect. No, well, you also probably needed castling for that, otherwise there would be no b4.
Right. Castling's
Needed
not always
to connect
ridiculous.
your rooks.
It's not like
this
it's
is
always
perfect.
wrong. Yeah.
It's picture perfect what you did, Like, I wish I had this position with white. Yeah, white is rather fast. I agree with comments there, So black, it takes a long time for black to unroll. Yeah. Okay, we got it. Let's move on with the game.
Mistake. All right. Then dude plays knight c5. I think it's always a little controversial, knight c5, because obviously now if I do hit him with b4, it's going to hurt more. Right?
Right. You're going to gain time.
So I already think that to show how bad castling, his position's fine with knight c5. I didn't put a question mark on it, but I thought, let's just look at this position for a sec. Queen e8, a3, f5, b4, f4. I might get mated here, Yermo, right? I could get mated here.
But why is it any different? So you're saying that if you play in this position h3, isn't gonna be the same thing? You get your h3, push the knight away, f3.
But now we can go back to f6.
But if he goes back to f6, how is he going to support his g5?
He's going to play bishop
h3.
h6. Yeah.
Or bishop h6.
Right.
Okay, let's still see this. This is going to be sharp. h3, knight f6, f3, bishop h6.
Okay, hold on, because now I also have your move g5.
Sacrifice. Okay, fine, yeah. You probably do. You don't need bishop h6. Queen g6, and then... You're right.
Yeah, I might get mated.
No, so on bishop. So you sure you get mated. So on bishop f2, he goes queen g6, and mate comes before you can do anything.
It looks bad. It looks really bad, yeah.
So, who was there saying that white is too fast? Who's fast now?
Who's fast?
There was a person who was telling us that white's too fast.
Yeah, that's the famous Brengas down there.
Somebody told me the other day I was streaming talking with some people, whatever. No, it wasn't me. I was a guest somewhere. And somebody said, why are you even talking King's India? Nobody plays it anymore. It's a bad opening.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, well, how bad is this? You get to checkmate? Oh, what horror, huh? This position.
Yeah.
You made a very good point about all this. Yeah, c5, g4, we probably resign.
Yeah. Okay, so knight c5.
Okay.
B3, Queen E8,
Okay.
and now I hit him with this H3 thing. Okay.
No, well, that's kind of a. So you're saying that H3 now is less effective after you castled, or I don't know. I'm getting lost here.
Okay, so I think, okay, I've already screwed it up a little bit by castling. So the position I feel like is very murky, hard to judge. Now, if I play, the reason I played H3 is suddenly it occurred to me that I did not want the knight to go back to F6, that it was stronger on F6 than it was on
Good point.
on H6. So that's why I said, I might as well do H3 now. Whereas the other variation would go like this, I think. And then we get an interesting position here.
F5.
And while it's murky, I think this position is better than what could have happened to me in the game.
I don't see anything wrong because he's hardly happy with the capture on E4. Then
No,
your
right.
knights,
This is why knight
the knights were waiting for the capture on E4 and then they emerge.
Yeah.
Pretty good shape, and he doesn't get even to play G5.
Right. So I think this was my second mistake here. In fact, let's I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and say, Yermo, that this is maybe an inaccuracy, this knight C5 thing he did.
Jesse, you know what I'm thinking?
What do you think?
Well, the picture is still not clear. Well, we're kind of groping a little bit in the dark. Because the moves, the question is not like what moves to play, rather in what order play them.
Okay.
Now, so that need to be, those kings, they need to be ironed out somehow. So really, you know, like, it's, to be honest, you know, in today's chess, no, I mean, if you get this position on the board, you should be able to play another 3 or 4 moves very quickly based on your preparation. If anybody ventures into this, but you need to be better prepared. You can't really sit there and think, do I play H3 or do I castle or do I play A3 first? Everything that had to be worked out before.
I agree, yeah. That's fair.
Before your next game. Because the time and energy, they should be saved for later stages of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay, let's look. B3.
People ask me what I think about chess boxing. I'm
Don't-
telling
don't-
you, you know, like, I'm telling you, I could never understand why it was always chess boxing, but not chess wrestling or whatever. If you want to combine chess with various, now what's boxing? It's a physical activity, obviously. Besides, it's kind of a self-defense thing. Don't get me started talking about self-defenses. Okay, that is not appropriate for this channel. You know, so why you promote chess boxing? I'm trying to understand why. I mean, there are other disciplines where people show their physical and mental strength. Again, wrestling. What about chess fencing? Fencing is a beautiful sport, right? And it's yet to be removed from Olympic Games, which boxing already got removed. So anyway, you guys are. It's like so yesterday this talk about chess boxing, you know. So that's why I have nothing else to add. It's just ancient concept.
Okay, Yermo, here we go. So,
Yeah.
A3. And then dude makes, I think, an inaccuracy. By the way, I just say, Yermo, we can talk forever about the quality of the moves. This game, in my opinion, is a huge part of it is dude is thinking too long. You know? Dude's thinking too long. He's already down a half an hour here. And, so the 20 minutes
Yeah,
or so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, well, maybe what you played. I mean, I played obviously quite a bit of time against Schwischbein, and his career King's Indian player. He has a good sense of.
He does have a
King's
good
Indian.
sense. Yeah.
Well, but your unusual move order combining the Petrosian d5 with bishop e3 Gligorich, that probably kind of got him a little bit off his usual path.
Okay, so my sense is, we're going to look, but my sense here is that if he had played f5, that I would have more grief here. So the variation might go, if b4, first of all, maybe the guy can take.
Okay, so he takes on e4 and goes knight f5, right? Okay, I understand.
And I feel like this is just fine for black.
Well, I am not so sure.
Okay.
He lost a g5 square. With the pawn on h7, fantastic. But now you play your bishop to g5. So it's one knight on d4, right? And you play bishop to d3. Does it have any tactics, any forks, any... I'm looking at some bishop h3 things, followed by knight f3 check, and whatnot. You obviously need a few moves to consolidate your position, but all in all, just one knight on d4, well, to me, it's maybe too early to panic.
No, I wouldn't say. I guess I would rather be black here, because the knight on d4 is forever. He can put the bishop on f5. He's fine.
And then what? Bishop on f5, and then what? What to do with that bishop? If I play my rook to b1, my queen to d2, I want to avoid the forks. Queen d2 difficult to play. I need to play the pawn to f3, not to allow that. Problem with white is rather that, they have blunder potential in this position. But if they somehow avoid blunders, I think black is going to get stuck a few moves down the road. They simply wouldn't know what to do next.
Let's say I go here. I'll play queen d7 next, probably.
So he's going to play, he needs to have the time. So it starts with f3. It's more important. f3. Queen to d7. I need to be prepared for all these sacrifices. I mean, I have some regrets, of course, that there is this tension on the queen side. So, but yeah, maybe because of this particular situation that you are threatening to take on h3, then I'm not quite sure if I can defend against this. I might have to play the awkward move king h2.
Right.
And you will try to get your rook to f7 and f8 to... I mean, this is the only thing, but if the sacrifice doesn't work, then black runs out of ideas. So I play king h2. Where is the sacrifice now? Does it work?
I just don't
or can
know.
you take on b4 and then take on h3 and f3?
Maybe, but
Yeah,
I just...
you can. Yeah, well, you're right. Okay, then now I understand. Now I understand. The white's problem is that they have too many squares to cover. Yeah. I agree with you now. I understand. I was just looking at permanent features of the position, but the tactics. White cannot defend against bishop takes h3. If I play king h2 now, you trade on b4, trade on a1, bishop h3, knight f3. And you broke through.
How do I get knight f3?
No?
I don't know. I have to play bishop h3 first, you mean, right?
Bishop h3, yeah.
But this is still, I don't know. I couldn't figure this out.
But maybe it doesn't work. I
don't know, yeah.
If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, then you don't play. I mean, maybe there is nothing here. f1 covered. Okay, well, then you play e4, that's the whole thing.
But I don't think it works, because see, I go here,
well, because there's
here.
capture on f8 and rook f1 check.
Yeah, so I don't think that works.
It doesn't work. Rook f1 check saves the day. Okay, anyway, so as they said, behind every positional mistake is miscalculation. So you can sit there and say white made this positional mistake. But what if? Imagine yourself as black here, and you sit there and you know that the window is closing.
Is it really closing?
Every next move that white is going to play is going to improve his position.
Yeah, I just feel
and
like...
eventually, probably it looks... He's going to play f4, g4. The way you set it up so he will play g4. Maybe g4 doesn't work now, but after a move on 2 in preparation, you would have to think, because if you take on e4, it's going to be a disaster. That's where I think that if your pawn is on h7, then such positions are always rather safe because worst thing you can take on e4. I just don't see how black is ever gonna take on e4 with the g6 pawn being so weak.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe, just maybe. But I agree, well, if I were white, I would be terribly concerned that I will not make it there because some kind of bishop takes h3 and capture on f3 is just going to win the game for black.
Well, okay. So, anyways, if he had played f5, which I think would have been better, then I have to decide between b4 and b4, which kind of allows black to get the knight on f5 to d4, or I play the more ambitious bishop f3, but then I might get mated. Right?
Yeah.
Like f3, and I looked at this variation, bishop f6.
Bishop f6.
But there's other moves too. He could think about maybe even your g5 move in this position.
Right away.
Maybe. But I'm just saying bishop f6 would be the normal way of doing things. And even there, I don't like my position because it's too scary.
So you just don't like your position, like period or what?
Well, I might get mated. I might get mated now because g5,
okay,
g4
well, but what about your counterplay there with this move b4? Aren't you gonna be pretty fast with your b4 and he has to? You said it yourself that knight c5 can come back to bite him because he loses time.
True.
So you're gonna play c5 and knight c4, and where is his mate? He needs g5 and queen g6 to support g4. Okay. No, well, c5. What else? Yeah. Or is he gonna try to checkmate you with? Okay, so this is played.
This is my analysis anyway. I felt like at the very minimum, I'm really risking a lot. So
You have to take on g4 twice, right? And queen g6 comes.
And then I just felt I'd rather be black in this position. In this one right here, I think I want to be black.
Gee. But I mean, you want to be black because you have what? A threat?
Well, because
So he keeps on taking, right?
Okay, let's look.
White keeps on taking on c7.
I mean, that looks evil.
And then there's some kind of a mate here. Okay, now I can see mate. I can see mate. I must take on g4. I can see mate on h2. I have to play bishop takes and move my queen away somewhere. And how's the mate gonna work out in this situation? Simply the rook over to the h5, right?
So there's two ideas, right? This is the easy one, but I could also do this one. Rook f7 over.
Rook
or king
f7
d7.
and rook over.
Yeah. And
Okay,
then
yeah, I
at
can
some
see
point
the
f3 too is at some point f3 would be scary. Yeah.
I can see this, and then it's gonna be. No, yeah, it is pretty bad, yeah. Because you have to clear out the f1 square, and then the queen will come in, and the bishop from h4. The king does not escape. Okay, I get it. Yeah, that's very much something to be concerned. Now we play in h3. That's why, right? Well, that's why we get mated. We should be leaving the pawn on h2.
Well, I think the prime mistake was castling. That was the big mistake. Right. Yeah. Okay, so dude made an accuracy here, which I think gives me a way back. Well,
bishop to
d7. I get to resume control here. So that happens. So what is he thinking with bishop d7? He's thinking pop, 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 and then he gets to trade off his bad knight, right? But we're saying no.
Yeah.
We're saying no.
Yeah, and then go back with the bishop. Yeah.
So I just did this anyway.
Bishop takes, queen c1, bishop back.
Yeah, as long as he can trade off.
It's a good move. It's a good move. You knight b5. That's well played.
All right, dude tanks forever and plays probably the right move, knight a6.
Yeah, knight back to a6. Yeah.
Boom. Boom. And now I make a mistake, my next mistake. I played.
So it's probably worth telling people that if he captures on b4, either he loses c7, or if he captures on b5, his knight is going to get trapped on b4.
Okay, yeah, let's show that.
Yeah. Instead of f5.
Instead of f5, right? So
Instead of f5, yeah, I think it's worth.
so he can't take yet. He can't take on b4 yet because c7 pawn. So pop, pop, pop.
Yeah, and then the knight looks totally trapped. Just queen b3, game over.
Exactly right.
Knight is trapped. Yeah, that's it.
All right, so now I make a mistake again, and
Well,
yeah. So I played queen b3, and I definitely
queen b3, interesting.
I think I should just go back. Let's go back, boss.
Well, so just a thought, like in this position, instead of you never consider capture on f5 because you bring the knight, his knight back, and he comes to d4. Or,
Right? Yeah. I didn't think about that at all.
So ef5, knight takes f5, bishop g5, and then he goes. How exactly? What exactly he's gonna do next?
Well, at this position,
Maybe
I got to
he's
worry
gonna
about
play
e4.
e4.
Yeah, I got to worry about that, boss. I can't do that.
You worry about e4 because he wants to play e3.
Yeah. No, this is not what.
Okay, no, well, that. Thank you. Well, that's good explanation. We can do this.
Yeah.
All right, fine. So your idea is to return back knight c3. Interesting. No, it's a good move. Otherwise, yeah.
So, okay, let me try to put it in words. So, the good news for him is that I cannot play c5 until this knight is not hanging.
Right.
And this knight really has done his job because the whole idea is to dominate this guy, right? So I needed to go back. And then the second part, of course, with queen b3 has the psychological benefit of saying, well, you're not going to take my pawn. But the problem for black is if he takes my pawn, it gets a little messy, but I will then gain the initiative on the queen side.
On the queen side, and they will take his mind away from
mating.
doing what he should be doing.
Exactly. I might not get mated. Yeah. Furthermore, the queen b3 is superficial in that the queen a lot of times has a job in fighting for the g4 square.
Good thinking.
Right?
So, when you play your move knight c3, then the line continues f4.
Well, he has a choice. He can either play f4 or take on b4, right?
It's not going to take. No, you know that you're going to play queen to b3 and grab the pawn on b7.
Okay.
And, well, that's going to be good for white. So he plays f4 and says, like, never mind. c5, knight f7.
Actually, maybe if he was gonna go for this line, maybe he should consider that.
But you take. That's interesting. But you take and you play your h4. Now your queen is in good place. No, don't take. Play h4 for white. This is I don't know how to defend against. But h4. Aren't you on h5 pawn? So what's his threat?
Well, he's going to play bishop f6 next move. Now this one I believe.
Okay, if he well.
Now, you know what I got here, Yermo? Here I can do this trick.
You take on d6, you can play on knight.
No, check this out. This is an easy trick.
Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, that's another great idea.
Right, the point being this.
c6 is brilliant.
Okay, so anyways, what my sense of this position here is that if he plays f4, that he's just too slow. Because if he plays knight f7, Then I play f3, and I'm totally prepared. And his queen is not easily coming to g6.
The bishop on d7. Now he stepped into the c6
And he
thing.
stepped into the c6 thing. That's right.
But is c6 thing really murder? What if he just goes back bishop c8 and reply to this? Is there some kind of follow-up?
At the bare minimum, his bishop is completely misplaced on b7. For a minimum.
Well, it's not going to be supporting g4, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Good point.
Now, what's fun about this, Yermo, is you're like, no, he'll never take on b4, but I think in a way, that f4 now would be, maybe that would be, of course, it's the thematic thing to do. Maybe if I was black, maybe he should consider playing takes and play knight f5 to say I'm not going to lose. But that's a worse version than the one we looked at before.
No, far worse. Far worse, of course. It gives you like 2 tempi or something. Or at least one. A fat one.
A fat one, yeah. Okay, so here we go. Queen b3, mistake.
Yeah, queen b3 is not good. Well, maybe it's the first move that really is a mistake. Before that, possibly it was just inaccuracies. Or the castles, I understand.
Yeah.
It's conceptually, it's a decision that maybe you could have avoided.
All right, so now I feel like dude makes a mistake. He's getting into pretty good time pressure now. And plays knight f7.
So the move was bishop f6 that you recommend.
Yeah, I think this is, well, it's interesting. And it's actually, what's interesting about your g5 move is I was looking at this position and then instead of knight f7 to play g5, and it's pretty good initiative. You know, because if we imagine like this.
Oh, g5 here with the sacrifice. So you take?
Right?
Yeah. No, on the other hand, you can stick that knight to e6. No, you can't.
I can't because of f3, right?
f3, terrible. I forgot that bishop. The knight returned from b5 in the wrong time. On the other hand, yeah, well, it's too much. So I don't know what you're going to do here. Just h4, but he can play knight to f7.
Yeah, so let me just go back and I'll say black had two.
Yeah, knight f3. No, it's interesting that you move your knight back, but it's probably not very good.
But okay, so then the other choice, of course. Wait, let me just say what I was going to say. Black has two plans, obviously. Bishop f6, knight f7. In general, he should not have knight f7 as his first choice, though, because that's in the way of the queen, which wants to go to g6.
It slows down his offensive, yeah.
Right. So in this position, I think I would be in a hard spot here. If c5, pop, and now we get your bishop c8, it's hard for white to know what to do here. Bishop will go back to c8, queen g6 is coming, g4 is coming, the whole party. Maybe though maybe what I could do actually.
Well, I can offer you sort of a radical solution to this, but it's probably not so great. You can play your pawn to g4.
Okay, but before I do that.
Oh, now in this position.
But how about this one? Queen d1.
Also reasonable. Yeah, you hit h5.
Right? If I can win the pawn, it's not about the pawn. I want to control g4, right?
No, yeah, then your g4 will be far more difficult to accomplish. Queen d1.
I mean, I assume he's got to go still, you know? Pop. He's got to hurt me. Or try.
g4? No, take twice. With what? No, he has now one attacking piece. Bishop on b7 doesn't really count. Take. But I don't get something, there's something else there. Okay, never mind.
All I know is here he has some compensation, right? I don't know exactly what's happening, but he's got some compensation because he could go like this, pop, pop,
Yeah.
pop, and then next move come around.
So what? I find this hard to believe.
The good news for
Okay,
me,
put
of
your
course.
queen on put your queen on h4, please, for me. Queen h4. Don't go back. He has to bring his. No, that isn't this slow. Now I can do f3. Yeah, I thought he had to hit g2 before I go f3, king f2, and then you know what next. Does he have the time?
Actually, let's see.
Okay, maybe queen f7, queen g7, because queen d8. Well, I thought you would play the queen move first
You're probably right. You're probably right.
to cut it out, like maybe queen f7, with the idea of king g7 and rook to h8.
No, yeah, black has a little compensation here, but
Well, little compensation, maybe it's understatement of the day. No, maybe this is it. Maybe white is lost.
yeah.
Because there is no way of defending against king g7 and rook h8. We've done absolutely nothing to save our king. Well, if anything, this thing will teach you this game will teach you one thing. Don't castle short.
Right.
In this position, if you put the white king, anywhere on the board, I would rather have this king on b5 now. I'm serious. I think I would have a better chance, I would go rook h1 real quick, and then we will have a game.
Yeah.
G1 is like this horrible. And if you had it comfy, somewhere now on e2, you would be in perfect shape. Oh well.
Okay. In any case, in this position, it's hard, it's easier for black. Black has interesting play. This is what the guy should have done. A student of mine is asking me about bishop b5, but I don't understand because he just played queen g6 and then the party's going to roll.
Yeah, that doesn't help at all, We're not. Well, our targets are small. Well, we can win maybe a pawn, but there's far larger prize.
Larger things, larger price going down.
He had a king on g1. I wonder, when I was in St. Louis as German resident just past month, kind of the centerpiece of otherwise very boring stay was the ceremony when Judith Polgar got accepted and inducted into the World Chess Hall of Fame, right? And she was there, and there were a lot of nice speeches, and she was she was very happy, and she was very friendly, answered a lot of questions. Nobody asked her, how come you played this bad opening King's Indian your entire chess career? And should we even consider inviting you to the World Chess Hall of Fame if you played such a bad opening? Nobody said this, because they would be rather silly, right? Not only not polite, but because the results spoke for themselves. Checkmate. Checkmate. So what to do?
So right now we get this thing, and he blasts it with g4, which I think is probably also. Then I think I'm probably technically winning after g4.
Okay, let's look at knight h6 line, because you're not supporting anything. You mean you're not stopping g4. What did you have in mind? Who's faster? So pawn forward? It's going to be g3 and checkmate on h5.
I don't know though. Look, g3 takes.
So bishop goes back.
Right.
Oh no, if bishop goes back, takes.
So let me just show the point is on here. Then I move the rook, and it's not. And it's an interesting position, and I think I'm not going to get mated because neither of these pieces are working. The knights aren't working.
So the king is going to slide down. Okay, let's see. So basically you're going to be up a pawn, right? So I suppose you can, So you can still stick that queen to h2, capture on f2, and you have to take back and play bishop f6 and bishop h4 check. And somehow it's not going to be enough, right?
We can look.
So queen check, king f1, pawn takes bishop, king takes pawn. Bishop f6 is fairly obvious. You don't have time for rook h1,
Right.
which is somewhat unfortunate. But maybe we just run with the king.
Maybe I
we
take
just play
I'll take that.
bishop
guy.
f1 and run with the king.
Bishop f1 is even better. Yeah, what am I saying?
Oh, you want to take that
I
bad
could
knight?
take
You
it
spend
too,
so
but-
much time. You spend so much time making it into a bad piece.
No, this is more principle to play bishop f1.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, okay, we accomplished that, but what else we accomplished here? What if we just lose the pawn on d7? Who says that we stand better? What's the plan now? We don't want to move the b pawn because of knight c5.
But the plan is to say that both of these knights are terrible. That's the plan. And the queen, honestly, man, I don't know if she's doing all that much.
So when he plays just like rook a d8, we're just gonna play something like, I don't know, something crude like queen a4, right?
Well, first of all, Yermo, if you're going to hurt me, you should at least look at the variation. Bishop h4,
How am I
king
gonna hurt?
e2, queen g1.
Oh, with the queen to come into f2? Ah,
Now,
actually.
part of the weird thing is that it's just a two-piece attack, so I don't know if you're really, I don't know, like...
But it's sort of like checkers, they all move on dark square.
Dark squares.
It's checkers attack. Can checkers beat chess? Maybe they can. So maybe indeed you're right, you showed your flexibility, you captured on a6. You know, that's flexibility.
Okay, so, but anyways, this, I think white has two choices there. Bishop f1 is in some ways more principled.
Maybe not good.
But my intuition anyway, bishop a6 is that if and when you take this thing, you're setting yourself
I
up
was
for-
afraid if I take on a6, you're gonna go like this.
No, that's the intention.
Bishop check, king e2, yeah. It's actually okay because you give up. If bishop check, king e2, you give up g2, but rook g1 becomes a threat.
Well, right.
Wow, amazing. Bizarre. Okay. So, better preparation to stop the checkers attack.
But in any case,
You run on the light squares. You know, if you're allowed to move on light squares, you're never going to lose a game of checkers, even to a world champion. Because he can only move on dark squares. It's going to be scary, but if you just keep your nerve, you're never going to lose any of your men. Just move them on light squares.
okay, I'm going to show you what happened.
Yeah, g4 too soon, right?
It seems like it, yeah.
Oh, I bet you were happy to trade that, but he counted on checkmate. But knight f3, perfect. Now you're saying that you should have thought prophylaxis.
I'm just saying I should have maybe thought of it. I think what I did is completely fine. Completely fine. But
But
it
you
would have...
had to defend with the help of the weird move bishop h4.
Exactly, right.
But somehow the way that construct is just holding on. So he has to. What's his attacking plan? Like knight to e3 and queen to g4, right?
Honestly, he doesn't have a whole lot here. He doesn't have a whole lot.
Yeah, but what if he played this right away? Knight e3,
What?
he would take his pawn on c7, and he threatens checkmate in one.
I don't think he's threatening anything, though. Let's say I take queen g4, even if I play rook. Okay, wait, I should think about it for a second.
No, well, no, certainly we need to think about it. So the plan is to play d6 check, which forces his king away, and now you have a winning advantage in the center and the queen side. Yeah, indeed, what's going to happen? What's the worst that could happen to you? King g6, rook f2.
Yeah, exactly. What I don't understand. And now he
Yeah.
can't move his queen away because of queen e6.
Yeah, because queen e6 will finish the job. So his plan, I suppose, was to take on h4 twice and bring the other rook over. But queen e6 is gonna ruin it.
Right.
Okay, I understand now. So I suppose he had to take back on d6. I was just asking.
Fair enough. Okay. So yeah, I took
Time
this
to
thing.
hit something.
Now this was obviously like, if I do this, I'm inviting the knight in, but I'm also, of course, claiming that my queen is gonna get in. Here I
Your
made.
queen's and waiting. Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice. Wow. No, but really, this position, so it's like, I mean, for example, everything is move to move. For example, if he wanted to bring his bishop over to protect d6 and cover the king, like bishop f8, then at some moment, queen c7, bishop e7, you're gonna hit him with g6.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So
and-
you have like one, so that's the queen. So what does it have to do, like defensively? Can he? But question, well, I mean, if rook d8 is not necessarily bad because of g6, because there is still mate on h1.
Right.
So what's the plan?
So here's where I make my. Actually, I would say I have two things that I feel bad about in this game. The first was castling, and then the next was this next move. Oh, which is a really bad one. So I think this is that I disregarded knight b5, which I should have done, of course, because here, and I didn't understand that I had this thing.
Okay. Pin. Wow. That's rather easy to miss because it's a retreat.
Right, right.
But I mean, the move is just so great.
That's a pretty nice one, yeah. So I think that was the reason why I discarded knight b5. But I mean, when you think about it in this position, I should be spending all my energy trying to make knight b5 work because that's what needs to happen. The knight needs to attack,
So well, if this happens here, if you take d6, then
It's all
good.
over.
So you're just hoping to force some of his pieces back. Maybe if the queen goes to g6 to protect. And then you'll have more. You'll have maybe, if queen g6, maybe even have rook to c1.
Exactly.
You kind of flooding in. The problem with the move queen g6 that he takes away the square from the king, so his rooks will be disconnected. So I don't know if he's going to be able. Okay, let's see queen g6. Let's just look at this move.
Crispy critters.
And what's the right way to continue? Rook c1. So capture on e4, you have what? Something on c7, but what? Okay. Let's got one move, king to g8, and hope to, I don't know.
But he's
Okay.
not even threatening anything, the poor guy.
No, but he took a pawn on e4. Why should he be threatening? I thought this is the situation when it's like, no, I mean, you stopped his attack, which was very nicely done. And it's difficult to count pawns, but you actually one pawn ahead. I suppose that you're much better here. Why don't you go queen takes b7 and get down to business?
Well, right, that's what I'm doing. Queen b7, yeah. And then I'm
So
gonna.
he cannot do anything, right?
No,
There is no deflection, there is no weird stuff, there is no... I'm looking what his knights can do. Well, he has his knights in the close proximity to your king. Maybe he has some kind of knight g3 thing, trying to check from e2 or whatnot. It's still a kind of position that could... I know you have a backup plan to trade on g7 and everything.
Right.
If it gets real hot. So knight g3 is not not a big deal, right?
I think on these things, the way to finish him is I can just play here.
Wow, so you offer him a chance to go knight e2 check.
Oh, excuse me. You know what I should do, Yermo? Actually, in this position, I should play this move. So
The queen b7 move was too slow.
yeah, but with a nice tactical question for him.
So the tactic is to capture on g7, and he has to take with the king to connect the rooks, and then the rook check will break the connection again.
All right.
Perfect. Well, are there any defensive ideas for him? Maybe not. Maybe you should move that rook away. Like rook f8. Move it away. He has to stop your threat, right? He doesn't have much of a choice. Well, I don't know. Well, it's one of those positions. Gee. You cannot tell when it's over. It probably has to be over. On every move you think, okay, now it's over.
Queen b7, yeah.
So, queen b7. And so we relied on this sacrifice, but what if he plays the same plan with knight g3? Those variations don't appear to be so clear to me. Maybe he wants a simple fork. The pawn will not queen. Alright, well, I don't know. Maybe I speak too soon. I think black is better here. I'm serious, I don't believe in the sacrifice because the a-pawn is never gonna queen. I don't know what to do. I'm panicking. He's gonna play e4, and it's gonna hit the knight, the bishop on h4.
It's okay. Pop?
Everything begins to fall apart for white. Well, that's the only way. You take. Takes. So, how many choices does he have? He's got rook f7, of course.
Rook f7 loses, I think, to that one, right?
To what? To queen check? King
so.
h7? g6?
Maybe it's still
g6
complicated.
working?
I don't know. Maybe it's complicated.
Okay, and on queen g6 you have your brilliant idea. If he returns with the queen to g6, then it's gotta be something, right? So
Maybe I don't have a brilliant idea, man. I don't know,
so what
actually.
do you have then? Well, suddenly I realized that he has stuff. He has queen b1 for crying out loud. Queen b1 of all things. Of all things, that's queen b1 checkmate. You bluffed me.
I bluffed you, man.
Terribly, Jesse. That was just a bluff.
Okay, wait. Let's just figure this out for a second here. So,
they're giving you good advice to capture on d6. Does it work? He has the knight.
when do I capture on bd6?
It says here, instead of rook takes g7. So rook c1 you played this move.
Rook
I want
C1,
rook
yeah.
f8. Nah, you said that you need to play rook c1, rook f8, and then queen takes b7. And on knight g3, people are saying take on d6. You're giving up. Nah, you said queen takes...
They want me to take here.
No, they telling you to play queen takes... No, too early, after knight g3. They saying queen takes b7.
Okay.
Like you played.
Uh-huh.
And on knight g3, they saying take on d6.
But then you got your knight e2 thing.
But he goes for the fork.
Yeah.
He goes for knight e2 fork. You missed the fork. Nicholas, you missed the fork, knight e2. Where's the threat? Why doesn't have any threats? Oh boy, that's... Well, I kind of agree with you that knight b5 had to be played.
Knight b5 has to be played. So is it?
It absolutely has to be played.
Yeah. Okay.
However, I don't have that much confidence. I think in White's being winning when you said finish them off, I would say you spoke too soon. Who knows? Well, there may be things here. I think that when Black played Queen G6, the move that I found difficult to play, because it kind of abandoned my attacking ambition of Queen H1 checkmate.
Right.
Suddenly, it gave Black just enough defenses on D6. So, as a part of a plan that begins with the move Rook D8 and follows with Queen G6, Black kind of consolidates a little bit.
You know, the other thing I could do, Yermo, would be Knight B5 if Queen G6. That's what you did, right?
I think I did, yeah.
The other thing I can do that's maybe sensible is just to play Rook FE1.
Okay, so you cover...
Yeah, I'm just saying there's
Well,
no...
okay, fine. In this situation, it's too early for him to take on E4, and basically the knight has to stay on C5.
And there's no easy improving move for you here.
No, Black... No, yeah, well, that's the problem. I can't get off the D6 pawn yet. I might have to consider Rook D7.
No, okay. And then I think the variation will go Rook AC1. And now you have a choice between Knight E4 and I think Bishop F8, which is a little bit similar to what happens in the game.
So you want to just take on D6 and grab on C5. That's simple.
Yeah.
Possibly right now.
Yeah.
So what do? I can try to either take on E4 or go for the fork.
Oh, wait a second, though, Yerma. Look, with my Rook on C1, now Knight E4 works for you. Look. Well, wait a second.
Works?
Well, I don't know. So first of all, I just want to point out.
No, what?
I just
why do
want
you take? I thought you stick your Rook to C6.
I know, I'm just showing something. So I just want to show that.
Oh yeah. Oh no, C1 Rook.
But yeah, I just play this. Easy chess.
Yeah, but easy chess, how easy is this?
This is pretty easy. That is very unpleasant.
How is this pretty easy?
Well,
So you have the same idea to play Queen C2, but there is Knight E3. So he takes, Queen takes, goes King J8. Queen C2 is not a winning move, if you are planning for that. Oh, that thing. Okay, all right. It's hard to keep them all, under.
It's hard to keep them all, that's right.
Yeah, well, indeed, Okay, well, but I would say this, in my estimation, I'm still not completely convinced, because, it's sort of a, this is like, I don't know, this is a fight, and you land in blows, so he's not without his resources yet. I mean, until some lines are found that completely prove that White is winning, it's too early to...
Fair enough. No. And I just say that, okay, so you're reacting to me saying finish it. But I mean, okay, I have to play knight. It's like...
You have to play knight B5.
I have to play knight B5.
This kind of position, you have to go forward. You have to hit him, so take his attention away from his... attacking plans. Yeah, Knight B5 I like a lot.
Okay, pop. I thought that was a good move, by the way.
I know why you played it, because you were setting them up for Knight E3.
Not that, but also I was thinking that what would happen would be Rook D7. That's what I anticipated. And then I thought if I'm going to then play here and then say that I have good play with Knight A4 next, where I've stabilized the position.
Well, that is true. His Rook is... But... you stabilize it to an extent, yeah.
So I missed this. So yeah, this was a good move. And then at least... And now I'm going to start being in time pressure. Now we get some real time pressure. Pop. I have to.
Just 6, so he played that.
Now I gotta Gotta admit I was wrong, Yermo. Gotta admit I was wrong, man. Bishop f8, and then I played. I thought this. Well, okay, I'll show you. I thought it was my only shot. Take it. All right.
Oh, that's a positional sacrifice.
Yep.
No, this is amazing stuff, This is real good. So your e4 pawn is not lost because of queen e6.
All right.
And after the queen trade, you repair your pawns. No, this is remarkable. Rook takes c5. It was all worth it, Like you could start, you could start with rook takes c5, and forget about all these other things. They were not important.
Okay, let me show you what he missed and I missed. Pop, 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 and here, actually, we're in a little bit of time pressure here. G3 would have been a nice move, but first you got to understand what the problem is. He didn't understand either. So rook c1. I thought here I was clearly better, but that was wrong, because here he needs to ASAP trade this knight off.
With
right away.
Knight h2.
And he could also play knight h2 in this position also. And then he's going to get an initiative. But if he in the game, he does this.
Why does he get the initiative if he plays knight h2?
Okay, so we could look at either variation, but imagine this one.
Either one.
And then let's say d6, f3.
d6, f3, and rook d2.
Yeah.
So he has your key. Otherwise, he takes rook takes g2 and delivers checkmate.
Right.
Rook to d2. Yeah, well, amazing. As you were a step or two away from queen and that. So, meaning that in this position you can't allow this to happen. You cannot play d6. You have to stop the move f3.
Right,
so you
and
need
so
to invest the move. But maybe suppose you instead of d6, if you invest a move into what you call it, rook c3, can he still get through? Because if he goes back into the defensive, like say he goes king g5, d6, rook h7, and maybe then you can take on c5. How exactly his attack continues? Is that some kind of bishop e7 to attack the b6 pawn?
okay, he's got a couple options. First thing, I guess I would. Okay, wait, this is very complicated.
c4 is nothing. You play d6, you shut this bishop. I think he has to play bishop to e7.
Okay, that makes sense, yeah.
If that would be my guess. But you play d6 and bishop g5, whatever.
But then what do I do next?
Now you need to somehow use your knight, because f3 is still not a threat. You need to use your knight to help your pawn. Maybe you start with... How do you use your knight? Knight c7, king f7. That is very strange. We don't want to play d7, I suppose.
Let's just say the obvious, Yermo. Black's the one in charge, right? Because I
know, well, yeah, I'm not confident that white is doing so great here.
yeah. No, I'm in trouble here. So yeah,
Entirely possible, because I was hoping for more effective play over there, but it's not really that effective.
So if I had seen it, obviously, this is the kind of example where I don't necessarily feel bad about it. With the other decisions, I feel bad. I mean, here I'm in time pressure. We both missed knight h2. I felt
Knight h2 is funny, right? Because He's trying to attack, so instead of knight e3, he's actually trading his...
But one of the things that happens, see, when this goes down, this pawn structure shift, this pawn becomes so weak that he can never move this knight. The knight's actually pinned to where he is. So trading the knight is a huge bonus for him. Plus, the problem in the game, when you look at this position, now his rooks are just tourists in my position.
Right.
What
So
are they
he
doing?
needed
Nobody
to
knows.
set it up. Yeah, that's remarkable. So he played bishop e7. It was a mistake. So you managed to get
And
d6 and rook takes c5. I mean, he probably counted on knight e3, but knight e3 doesn't do much.
Doesn't do anything, yeah. No, and then he plays a passive move. He's got 1 minute left, but I think I'm winning. I think
Okay,
it's now,
what if he goes back to the same plan with knight h2? Is that too late now?
Well, I'm gonna take it.
That rook takes. Still got d8 square covered, kinda. With the bishop. So he wants the same thing with f3. I'm still thinking you gotta play rook back to c3. And then just slowly advance whatever, maybe a4, a5.
Oh,
Just hope that you have enough. Yeah. You think you can take on a5?
I'm just looking. I'm not saying. But here's the thing. Yeah. This looks a lot better for me.
Yeah, because you managed to grab the pawn on c5, but then again, maybe it's not 100% entirely clear. Although, he has to come up with some ideas.
Yeah, it's
The
like.
most obvious move, bishop d8, you probably play knight to c7.
Yeah, of course I play knight c7. Yeah, that's not going to help, yeah.
But the pawn doesn't queen, so the improvement really is going to come from the a pawn moving forward. Everything else is frozen. Like he can play his king to f7 and I suppose neutralize your d pawn. But it's the a pawn that marches on.
Right.
That's an amazing position.
Okay, I'll show you how it finished.
Yeah, white's better here. Maybe white is winning.
Now I think I'm winning after this bishop f6 move. King e2.
Yep.
Now there's no knight h2. Forget about it.
Uh-huh.
That's not going to help you, son.
Ha! Funny way to protect the pawn. So you basically shut down his rook, but
Yeah.
so the capture on d6 was not possible.
It was, though, he should have tried it anyway. But I don't think.
to open files for the rook.
But the problem is, he doesn't have an easy way in, because my knight's controlling
Obviously,
I got all the squares.
Just amazing, like you defend with two pieces against, and moreover, you actually attack.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna make a queen. Yeah, so he went passive. That was mostly. This is just easy then.
He went passive, and that was probably it. Oh, beautiful! The second exchange sacrifice. Now you got the whole rook and put the pawn on d7. And he's trying to what? Bring the knight over?
Well, it's true that my knight's not going to get out, so I got to give him my knight.
Well,
Congratulations.
but you have an endgame which is winning for
Yeah.
because you get 2 pawns. No, but the 3-knight endgame, well, where you had an advantage of an extra pawn, a passed pawn at that anyhow.
Right.
Just let's go back a few moves if possible. I mean, I'm looking at this position after you won the rook on d8, before you played your knight to d3, right? Which was, I'm sure, a good move, or knight to c4. I'm thinking like, it's a 3-knight endgame. I mean, they're not known in theory. People study knight endgames or 4-knight endgames. This nobody studies. Because there's nothing to study.
Yeah.
No, well, very nice.
Okay, Yermo. So I'm thinking next week I gotta annotate this painful the next one, which was the painful loss to Dmitry. It's going to be very difficult. I've been mentally putting it off, but that's going to be my hard work to annotate that thing, and then we can look at it Friday. I'll show you that
Look at
thing.
that Friday, yeah.
And I think
Oh,
this game, like
yeah.
there's a couple basic level mistakes that I made. He as well, of course, but a couple basic level ones where I really, yeah.
No, but about this game, let me sum it up.
Okay.
So I argue with the whole concept of castling short. I think the advantage that provided by your move d5 and move 7 is the great flexibility with your king's position.
Right.
So you kind of when you said that they castle short anyway, but in the main lines of the Petrosian, but that happens already with all this h5, bishop h6, and all that. But the game kind of takes different shapes somewhat.
Right.
Well, black, it's a different story. In your situation, it's more like you have a clear path to play b4, which you prepare nicely, c5 and knight c4, and by not castling, you're not wasting a move, which could be needed otherwise, to beat him to the punch. And secondly, how strong is his attack? None of the bad stuff would remotely happen if your king was not in G1.
Yeah.
I think in some lines where he tries to put some obstacles on your path, possibly preparing the move knight a4, or some other things that they might do.
The other story, Yermo, I just want to highlight the other move that I really
That's
feel.
the main thing, I think. About how you handle the situation with the move rook a to e1, which you seem to be so not happy about.
Yeah.
Move 32. No, yeah, I agree, that moves like this could possibly cost you the game.
Right. For sure, man.
Well,
Yeah.
because you hesitated.
Exactly.
However, it's not proven in variations that that was such a bad move. So I don't know. I think you got greatly aided because he allowed the sacrifice on c5. He probably never thought of that. Once it happened and he had to trade on b6, then you felt more in control. Although now you show this knight h2.
Right.
The resilience, this black's position is amazing. They can do a lot of things wrong, and then they still win the game.
Sure.
Fantastic, great game.
All right, my man. Cool. That was a great show, and we'll do it again next week.
Yeah, great. Thank you guys for participating there. So, I wish I'll probably pay closer attention to the chat. Maybe I missed a couple of things, but at any rate, we'll do it again. Thank you.